evening,
Good
everybody.
evening. Welcome to
Marital
Marital
Motivation
Motivation
with
with
the
the Mackeys.
Mackeys.
Hey, I'm Leslie Mackey, and this is my amazing husband.
I am David Mackey.
And we want to thank you today for taking time out to stop and to join in with us. And we just want to sit back and chat a little bit with you on tonight, talking about apologies. And so, just to get us started, I thought I'd get my Janet Jackson poetic justice look on today. So, I need y'all to drop in the chat and let me know if I can rock it or if I need to let it go. So that's how we're gonna get started on today. But we're talking about apologies. So often we talk about the five love languages, but we discovered in that same the author, Dr. Gary Chapman, as well as the five love languages, he also has the five apology languages. So how many times, and I think this is probably more a thing with ladies more so than men. I might be wrong. Again, drop it in the chat. Let us know. But sometimes somebody may apologize, and then you may go back later and say, I didn't receive that apology because she didn't mean that. That wasn't a real apology. She didn't mean that. She just said it. She didn't mean it. Well, what does that mean? So one of the things that we've learned in doing the apology languages is that sometimes is not necessarily what they say, but how you receive it. And so that's what we're going to talk about, are the apologies. But before we talk about apologizing, what are some of the you looking like you lost?
Because
do you?
You always go left field with something.
I know we're gonna go together. I'm steering this thing, but we're gonna go together. Okay. So, but what are some reasons that we need to apologize?
Well, I would say obviously mistakes that we've made, whether we've hurt somebody's feelings, whether we've hurt someone. Offenses is a word that's used in the church community a lot. If we have offense against somebody, sometimes we'll apologize if we disappoint someone. But there's all kinds of reasons, to apologize, whether they be hurting someone mentally, physically, emotionally, or the whole gambit of possibilities. There's just so many different reasons to apologize. I often wonder though why people feel the need to not apologize.
And
then you have people that just always need an apology. But I think there's so many different people that are different, because even me and you, I think that we're extremely on different sides of the spectrum when it comes to apologies.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I don't need to hear you say I'm sorry. That's a big thing for me. I don't need to hear those words. I need to see the actions, but we'll get into that.
All right, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
So one of the words that you used were to talk about why we need to apologize was because of offenses. So do you have a definition for that?
Well, of course. Nice setup, darling. But no, I do have, a definition. Being in ministry, I like to read. But the word offense and offenses in the Bible translates to scandalon. The scandalon, not scandal. But it says it's referring to a trap or referring to bait, or a stumbling block, which we often hear that phrase, a stumbling block that causes someone to sin or fall away from faith. And I think the end of that is kind of like the key for human relationships and community, is when we offend somebody or we hurt somebody or whatever it may be, we cause our faith and our trust, that causes the faith and trust that we have in you to waver. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the offense is. It's like my faith in you is decreased because you just offended me. I held you to a certain level, and now because of whatever it is that you've done, now my feelings are hurt, or, or I'm in my feelings, or, I'm not quite happy with you or angry or whatever, but it's just like our faith in that person is just, and our trust has just been diminished just a little bit. It's like that bright light gets a little bit dimmer. And the more offenses, the dimmer the light, and then there's resentment, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes, behind that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But yeah.
So therefore, I think that's a good push into why we need to apologize and different ways to apologize. So what is an apology?
All right, let me scroll through my notes because I got a lot. I think I actually deleted my definition. Let's see. An apology. Yeah, you see I'm scrolling. All right, there we go. So I pulled this, I think everybody has their own definition of apology, but I pulled some things from coaching websites, therapy, counseling websites, and different definitions of what an apology should include. And an effective apology must prioritize the hurt party by centering their accountability and empathy, and change rather than justifying their actions. It should be clearly acknowledged what the specific wrongdoing was. You should express genuine remorse without defensiveness, and you should offer concrete steps to repair the relationship. And then I like this because there was a thing on there that says the 3 R's: regret, responsibility, and remedy. So the 3 R's of an apology is regret, responsibility, and what's the remedy to solve the thing. And for me though, going into these 5 apology languages, it was interesting because I realized how much of my upbringing and affects the way I look at life. We always say that, and I'm not the kind of person that says, that, I blame everything on my childhood. But when I look at it, it's like your childhood is a house. Your life is a house. And so your childhood is like that first version.
The foundation.
It's the foundation. It's the first version. So as you grow and you mature and you get older, you realize you got to do some renovation. But, and everything's got to be up to code. So a house built in 1810 is not going to meet the code of 2026. And so some of the things that we decided and in our childhood mind, or some of the lessons we learned in our preteen, toddler stage, preteen, teens, 20s, those standards don't reach the code for an adult life. And we've got to really look at how, our younger selves and what we learn, how that has molded us and shaped us. Yeah. And for me, this was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just life. That who we are today is always going to be rooted in our upbringing. There, like you said, maybe some things that we have to overcome, but it still affects the lenses that we see through and how we deal with everything. And so, yeah, I agree that I thought that was very interesting when we started looking at the 5 love languages. When we took the test.
Yes.
So if you have not heard of this before, or if you haven't taken the test, we encourage you to look it up. It's called the apology quiz test.
Yeah, the 5 apology quiz. And it's by Dr. Chapman. You can literally type it in, boom, it takes you there. There are 26 questions, and it's an A/B answer to every question. So, does this apology mean more to you? Is it more that you hear this, or is it more that you hear that? And as you go through and answer the questions, it gives you a score, just like the love languages test. But I thought it was very interesting. I felt like mine was very right across the board, like a even combination of all of them. And we could get into it.
Yeah, mine was a little different. Mine was very straightforward. This is mine right here. So
we're trying my best not to slurp my coffee.
Please don't slurp. Not just in my ear. I don't think anybody wants to hear you slurping. So and our Marital Motivation mug. But I'm gonna let David start with the first one,
Okay.
uh the first apology language. Like I said, it's 5. And so David's going to do the first one. And we selected this one for him to do because this was his number 1.
This was my number 1. So the number 1 for me was expressing regret. So one of the 5 apology languages is expressing regret. And I'm not going to read everything that they have, but I pulled out a couple little things. Expressing regret is an apology language that zeroes in on the emotional hurt. And I'm a very emotional person. I connect emotionally to everything. A lot of my employees probably don't think that, but I'm a very emotional person. It is the admission of guilt and or shame for causing pain to another person. For those who listen for expressing for regret, a lot of times we just need to hear the "I'm sorry." We don't need the all the other stuff that goes with it. We don't necessarily need to see the steps of how you're going to fix it, but it's the "I'm sorry." It's the visual and the audible and the emotional connection of you understand that you hurt me. And for me, if you don't give me that, a lot of times I won't, because I feel like it's not brazen brass. It's just like you don't care. It's callous. It's like if you don't connect with me to say, okay, you don't see my heart, you don't see how this wounded me, then what are you really apologizing for? You're just saying it. So for me, that definitely is a big one. But again, it's amazing how it is so true. Another thing that I liked about this one in relation to me is I also give apologies that way. It is just like the love language. It's like my apologies are heartfelt, sincere, like a Hallmark movie, cry your eyes out kind of apology. That's just how I apologize.
Lifetime Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4. There you go. Pretty much.
But I'm sorry because I want you to feel my heart. I want you to feel my remorse.
Yeah. Another thing that stood out to me with the expressing regret apology language was it talked about how even the body language, the person who is receiving the apology that deals with expressing regret, that they're even observing your body language. Are you making full eye contact? Are you,
if you hit me with one of these while you're apologizing, I'm not feeling it. It's you're closed off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many the nonverbal communication that goes on.
But more of a baby.
Yes.
Making that gentle touch to connect. Stop.
Can't help myself.
But
rubbing on me.
Making that connection with the person as you are expressing regret to them, then that is David's love language. I'm not love language. Stop. You're distracting me. That is that is David's top apology language. So, but then when I took the test, my top apology language was planned change. So to sum it up real easy, it is, I really don't need to hear you say you're sorry. I mean, those are words. Thank you. You said it. Cool. I want to know what is the plan so that we don't end up back in this place again. What steps? I don't expect to see the change immediately necessarily, but I want to know what steps are you planning on taking so that we don't come back to this position again? What is the plan? What's the game plan? Go on. I hear your brain just going.
Well, no, I was just going to reference, even in our marriage, there were times where, I was dealing with issues and personal things and addictions, and I knew that it hurt you. And my apology was truly from my heart, but because I kept doing it, you couldn't receive it. And it wasn't that I was just doing it to hurt you. It was, I literally was struggling to overcome this obstacle in my life, and my apologies were empty. And I think there's so many people in relationships that don't realize that if you don't give the steps, if you're the person that needs the steps and you don't give me the steps, that you're not going to receive it. And then it's just a revolving door, because then I feel like, well, why didn't she accept my apology?
I said, I'm sorry.
I said, I'm sorry. And you're like, well, you ain't doing nothing to change. You haven't given me. How many times have you heard that in your own, relationships? You haven't done anything to change. What are you going to do? What are you going to do differently? Why does this keep happening? And it's just this revolving door of no solution.
Yeah.
There's no solution to it, because until you realize that I have got to sincerely apologize, but then I've also got to make steps. I've got to make steps, and I'll share. I'm a very transparent person. I don't have a problem with being transparent. That's just who I am. But I once had a severe, any addiction severe, I had an addiction to pornography. And one of the things that I did when I apologized to my wife and I was trying to overcome that obstacle, which I have overcome, was I said, okay, babe, in order for me to not offend you, in order for me to not keep hurting you, not only do I want to do this for myself, but also for you, because I'm betraying your trust. We put steps in place. I was like, all right, look, I don't want access to any cable because it's so readily available. This was before, you could always get stuff on your cell phones, but this was before cell phones was what they are today. But I was like, okay, let's do this. Can we do this? Can we do that to help me help myself overcome? And then I went to God to ask him, okay, Lord, I need you to help me. I've been struggling with this thing. And then, yes, I received deliverance, but she received that more because I made steps. I was like, I put work into finding a solution versus just the I'm sorry 125 times.
Yeah, because I think one of the things you did in that was even with the television, how you can set the parameters, like the parental controls, stuff like that, so that you can only see certain rated things. He asked me, set those and set the password on it and don't give him the password.
Yep.
So to me, I was able to receive that, not because he said I'm sorry, but because I saw the changes that he was making. I knew that he was genuinely going to God saying, Lord, deliver me from this, help me, and I knew that at that point he understood how it was hurting me, and therefore there was a planned change. So thank you.
You're welcome, Mary.
So the next one we're going to talk about was David's number 2.
Which there was only I think less than 10% difference in most of mine. But my number 2 was accepting responsibility. And for this one, it says many individuals, all they want to do is hear the words, I was wrong. If the apology neglects to accept responsibility for their actions, many partners will not feel as though the apology was meaningful or sincere. I want to, and it's not just that I want to see you hurting. I'm an emotional person. I want to see you feel what I feel. I also want to hear you say that I know what I did was wrong. I know what I did hurt you, because otherwise, in my mind, you're just going to do it again. I think it's very similar to the plan change, because if you don't accept responsibility for what you did, it means nothing. There's a scenario that happens every day on my job where employees, I know I always refer to my job. I can
say it for you, but
I'm not going to say what it is. But they do a specific thing and they say sorry before they do it. And my response always is, you're not sorry, because you're intentionally doing it. And so it goes the same thing with with this apology language. It's like, accept responsibility that you did this thing, because you may continue to do it if you don't feel like you were the one, I guess got tongue tied. If you don't feel as though you're responsible for the hurt, you're responsible for the actions. If you don't feel that responsibility, you're just gonna do it again.
Yeah, this one kind of comes off a little bit more to like, I'm sorry in accepting this responsibility. I'm sorry for what I did because it hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of really what that one ties more into when I was reading this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is really that whole, yeah, I was wrong in what I did, and I acknowledge, you know, that what I did hurt you, and I really am sincerely sorry for it. That's kind of more what that accepting responsibility deals with. You have anything else with that one?
No,
further.
You can go. I'm just scrolling through my notes.
So for me, my number 2 was making restitution. So I kind of chuckled at this one because ultimately, if you can just imagine, if somebody commits a crime against you, you want to see them pay for it, whether they go to jail, you know, whether they have to pay the money back, you know, whatever the situation is, you want to see justice. And that is what making restitution falls under, is because you want that person not just so much that they are saying I'm sorry, again, that and then they got nothing to do with it, but I don't even know how I want to say this, because it's not like I want to see you locked up and shut you down because
would you like me to say it? You said it to me earlier.
Say it how I said it earlier.
Okay. So how you explained it to me earlier, because I see you in your thoughts and in your head. You said it was like I said it's restoration. So you have to be restored.
Yeah.
And you want to see that person restore you, restore your faith in them. You want the quality, like your love language is quality time. So if I hurt you and I'm apologizing, you want that apology to include you being restored in some kind of way.
That is so perfect. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Because I actually listened to you.
Okay, listen at you. So yes, that's ultimately what that is. You know, restore me back. You know, restore the relationship back to where it was before the offense took place.
Yes.
You know, come back to me, not, like I said, not necessarily with your words, but with your actions. And I realized I'm an action kind of girl. I'm all about the action.
All right.
You know, so again, just saying you're sorry, but then not coming back and restoring, it puts you back in that place of, that apology was so void, it was not real. They didn't mean that.
So we've got expressing regret. We've got plan change. We've got accepting responsibility. And then we just went over making restitution. And then the very last one is requesting forgiveness. Can you forgive me for ... That is what this person needs. They need the request. They need the, lack of a better word, for the ball to be in their court. They need to feel like you want to restore the relationship. You want to rectify the offense. You know, one of the things I do want to say is we've gone through all of these, is that every apology includes all of them. It's just some people are looking for one part of it more than the other. And I just think that we as spouses, mates, couples, we really should learn what our spouse needs, so that we're not just spinning in circles, you know, in insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, wondering why your husband won't forgive you, or your spouse won't, your wife won't accept your apology. And you're like, I've said I'm sorry 20 times, babe, I bought you flowers, I did this, but you never said, will you forgive me? You know, or you never said, you didn't come up with a plan change. You just brought flowers with a sincere, regrettable, you know, apology. But if there's no plan change, then she's not going to receive it. And so you really got to start to learn your spouse.
But what do you think what stops us from apologizing?
Number one answer on the board, Steve Harvey, is pride. But honest, I think pride and fear, those are the two big ones. Pride, fear, history. And I think, well, history kind of ties in with fear for me. And when I say history, it's like what has transpired in the past when you apologize. So if my wife is not receiving the apology that I give because I don't know her apology language, I feel like it's pointless to continue to apologize because it's like it's a lose-lose. And I think a lot of people feel like that. It's like, what am I apologize for? They ain't gonna accept it anyway. And it's because you just apologized the wrong way.
Yeah, that's interesting though. I agree, especially dealing with that pride though, that ego. I'm not gonna apologize to that. I meant what I said. I'm not apologizing, but sometimes slowing down, knowing your spouse, understanding who they are, understanding why they function the way that they do, even sometimes understanding why it could have even offended them. If you take time and drop your ego and put your marriage before your own self, put the couple together, the marriage, put that before your own self. And then, I think it brings a balance with all of that. And then now learning what is their apology language. Do you just simply come and say, I'm sorry? Do you, like I said, come up with a plan? Do you need to touch them a little bit when you're talking to them as you're expressing why you're remorseful for what happened, whatever the case may be, And then another thing I want to pull out too, and that's a big thing that we kind of skipped over a little bit of that, forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Because to be honest, in a relationship, whether you're talking about marriage, friendship, co-workers, whatever, sometimes offenses will come. That's just a natural given. For sure. You're going to be offended by some things in life. You might be offended by something somebody says. You might even be offended by what somebody got on. But offenses will come. And in that, you may not get an apology. And especially if your spouse is trying to learn you, trying to learn your apology language, trying to apologize the way you can receive it, things of that nature, then the next step is you've got to learn to forgive. You've got to accept the fact that all of us are human. Nobody is perfect, and that we're all going to make mistakes. Offenses are going to come, and you've got to learn to stop holding that other person in bondage so that you can make yourself feel better in that situation, but learn to forgive and to release, whatever is going on.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading, there's a scripture in Proverbs. It says the discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. Meaning there is a blessing in passing over a transgression. And I feel like sometimes we are so focused on the apology that we're not even thinking about forgiving the person. That's not even an option. It's the pick your battles. A friend of ours said, he believes that every couple has a certain number of fights. He's like, once you reach that limit, then the relationship is done. And so it's like, well, is it worth it right now? Is me receiving this apology worth chancing that, if that's what you believe? My thing is, though, we have to sometimes be the bigger person. And we have to understand, like you said, offenses are going to come. Not one of us is perfect. Not one. And we are going to hurt each other. We are going to, unfortunately, be rude to each other at times. We are going to be short with each other. We are going to do something that's going to either hurt the person's feelings, offend them, cause them shame, whatever. We have the ability to hurt our spouses. But God, if we would go to the Father and ask him on how to handle the situation versus handling it the way we think it should be handled, because none of us have the right answer. We don't have the right answer. You don't have it. I don't have it. Nobody has the perfect answer. Only the Father has the answer. And if we go to him, he can lay out a plan for us. You know, he can soften our hearts when we're having a hard time receiving an apology from our spouse when they hurt us, you know, and he can, you know, there are people that I deal with, never received an apology from them. Doesn't change the fact that I love them. Doesn't change the fact that I would do anything for them, you know, but I haven't received an apology. And it doesn't change anything for me.
It doesn't change who you are.
It doesn't change who I am, right?
That's
because I'm a man of faith and I understand the power of forgiveness. And another part that I wanted to touch on is sometimes people use apologies to manipulate their spouses into doing things that they want them to do, you know. So you want to touch on that one?
I want you to sip your coffee, and then I want you to dip a little deeper in that one.
Y'all might think I'm drinking the same cup. It's my second cup. I had 2 cups brewed over here. I'm trying to stay awake, y'all.
I'm on my same cup.
So I got them both. That one's done. All right. So I'm talking about when you apologize and your spouse holds that over your head so that they can manipulate you to get the things that they want. That's not right, you know. And some of us, unfortunately, are in toxic relationships like that. So your spouse may be that person, you know. You said dig a little deeper. I just, you know, I've seen people say things like, well, he apologized, but I really want this ring. So, you know, I'm gonna give him the silent treatment for a while and I ain't giving him none. And, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up. So, you know, let's not do that.
Right.
You know, these are real conversations. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's not what we do. That's unhealthy. That's manipulative. That's not what you do to someone you love. You know, the people you love, you cherish them, you cherish their hearts, and you're not trying to control them. You know, that's not what we do.
Yeah, that's not what we should be doing.
Not in my house. Not the combo.
You know, and one other thing I'll pull out as well too, and that is sometimes, you know, we've also seen where people will apologize just or say, no, I'm not gonna say apologize. They will say, I'm sorry, just to end an argument or to end a disagreement. You know, you would just say, I'm sorry. You don't mean it. There's nothing behind it, but it's one of those, okay, because I know if I don't, we're going to go 6 days without speaking to each other. We're going to have the silent treatment going on, whatever. So I'm just going to say, I'm sorry just to get over this. But you never discuss the real issue. You know, communication, everything in a relationship is about communication. You have to be willing sometimes to have those hard conversations where you have to come back and say, you know, this really hurt my feelings. This is why it hurt my feelings. Again, going back to what we talked about in the beginning about that structure, you know, the foundation of how we were brought up and, you know, all of that, it forms who we are. And because we're brought up in different households and with different parents and we have different everything to start off with, and then now you're trying to combine those two and become one, you do have to sometimes get in that place to have hard conversations. This is why it hurt my feelings. And then maybe with the understanding and you're loving each other, you can get to that place of saying, I don't want to do that to hurt my spouse. You know?
Practice. They say practice makes perfect. I believe that practice makes progression. So you got to move forward. It's coming back and just having those conversations consistently because you're going to continue to make those mistakes. When you were talking, I was just thinking about What do you do when they just don't receive it? Like, you got the people that apologize just to end the argument, but you have the people that sincerely apologize, and you know your spouse is not receiving, or you're having a hard time receiving the apology from your spouse. What do you do then? How do you handle that?
Well, I would say number one, again, be willing to have the hard conversation. And number two, you're going to have to take that up. That's between you and the Father. So Lord, help my heart be able to be open to receive the apology, receive the love, not just to say they didn't mean it, but be able to go back and have that conversation. Baby, let's talk. Let's talk about this, because this is where I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to receive your apology. I heard you. I accept what you said, but I'm struggling in this. This is where my heart is right now. Not blaming the other person at that point, because if they've come and they've apologized, then now you may just need time to process it. I wanted to read this real quick. I see Miss Wilma is on, and she stated on YouTube, she says, we understand we will make mistakes, but if we feel valued, then we can forgive.
Yeah, that goes right to those, the value of me as a person. When you apologize, it validates.
Yes.
It validates me. It validates that, okay, I'm not crazy. You did hurt my feelings, and you hear it, you feel it, you see it, but speaking of what you were just saying about circling back and having those conversations, if you're not over it, like you say, you received the apology, you're not over it, you have to circle back and have that conversation with your spouse, because your spouse could think that they are all good. They could think, okay, I apologize, we're in a good place. They keep it moving, but you're still stuck. And if your spouse doesn't know that you're stuck, then they may get the mindset of, well, dog, I apologize. Why aren't you said we were good. What's the problem? And so then there becomes resentment. And then you go back to the, well, you know what? I'm not apologizing for this again, because it falls on deaf ears. But it didn't fall on deaf ears. It's just they're still processing. And I think we do our marriages and all of our relationships a disservice by not circling back and saying, we good? Are we good? I know I hurt you. This is the plan. It's heartfelt. I'm sorry, but are you okay? Is there anything else that I can do for you to help you? Is there anything else that you need from me? And being vulnerable and being honest.
Apologizing just in and of itself puts you in a vulnerable place, because that's saying, I jacked up, I messed up. I did something wrong, but we all want to see ourselves as being perfect and not making mistakes. And that's not realistic. So it already puts you in a vulnerable place to be able to say, listen, I hurt you. I'm sorry. That wasn't my intentions. What? And another thing I wanted to point out, we were talking earlier too. I thought about this.
What's that?
Don't come back with all of that. Shifting the blame as far as, well, I did it because da 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 da. When we talk about having a heartfelt apology, you can't shift it. Well, if you hadn't done such and such, then I wouldn't have done da 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 da. You can't apologize and accuse at the same time.
Right. Don't deflect. I think if we, like you said, you have to be vulnerable when you apologize, and you've got to understand this person is expressing how they feel, and they feel the way that they feel. And so you may not want to necessarily hear it, or you may not agree with it, because that was not your intent, but it's still how they feel, and I'm not going to tell you how to feel.
Right.
I can't, there are things in our relationship. There are things that I've said that have crushed Leslie. There are things that she has said that have crushed me. At no time can I go. I remember one time I said, this was just something I said, I compared it to somebody that I knew, and she despised this person. and she thought this person was just whatever. But I compared her to them. Not that she was doing the same things, but there was one characteristic, and it crushed her. It offended her. Like, I don't think I've ever seen my wife that mad at me, but I could not tell her that she couldn't be pissed off by what I said.
Because that would have pissed me off more.
But I couldn't say, no, you ain't got no right to be mad, because no, I offended her. I was taking a jab, but I didn't think it was gonna cut that deep. You know what I'm saying?
But it goes back to what it was rooted in.
What it was rooted in for her.
What it was rooted in for me caused a whole bunch of offense behind that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we just have to remember, people have feelings, and we cannot tell our spouse how to feel, even if we don't agree with how they feel. If it comes to an apology and we're expressing, don't deflect, don't shift blame, be open and be vulnerable, and utilize those apology languages, because I think it's really important. I'm not just endorsing Dr. Chapman just because it's like, it's so obvious when you take the test and you really look at yourself, you will see the comparisons. You will see where it applies to you. And like I said, nobody is 100% one. We have a gambit. I had a little bit of each one, but heartfelt remorse was my number one. It's like 30%. Everything else was like in the 20s, so it wasn't a big gap. So learn your spouse, take the time, put in the work. I think we don't value a lot of times the mistakes that we're going to make. We want to always avoid them, but learn in the moment. Even when you mess up, it's going to make your relationship stronger if you go through it the right way, and if you have God at the center and you're truly seeking his face and seeking forgiveness and seeking how to be better as a person and better as a couple.
And I'm gonna throw this out. I thought about this when you were talking. If you purchase a brand new car, I'm talking brand new, straight off the lot, you ordered it and it had custom made, and it had 2 miles on it when you went and picked it up from the lot, custom made. And you get there to get the car, and you start driving the car, you stop somewhere, you get some coffee, and you spill coffee on the seats.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just gonna leave that stain? Because that's an accident, it's a mistake, it's an offense to the car. Are you going to just leave it and just be like, oh well, I didn't mean to spill it?
Yeah. Or
are you going to take time to go and wipe it down, clean it? Most likely you're going to spray something, whatever you can, to make sure it's clean, dried up first. And then you're going to make sure that there's no stains left behind on it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be just as intentional with our spouse. We need to make sure. I know, I was like, that was good, Lord, he gave that to me just then. But we need to be able to go back to our spouse the same thing. I offended you. I apologize. That's me wiping it up. But now let me come back and make sure that there's no stains left behind in what I said or what I did to offend you. We have another question that came in, and it says, what if you are vulnerable when you apologize, but you don't feel like your partner feels that the apology is sincere?
That's on. I'm trying, I'm trying to sugarcoat it a little bit.
Don't sugarcoat me. I mean, because it's.
No,
I get ready to go with that.
That's between, you got to let that go, because you did your part, and you got to put that in God's hands after that. And then it's a prayer that God, allow them to see my heart and allow God to work on that, because we want what we want when we want it. But that doesn't mean that our spouse has to receive our apology, because they have their own issues. They have their own stuff. They have their own baggage. And God uses Couples, y'all got to understand, can't nobody be a tool like your spouse. Can nobody be used by God to mold you, shape you, sharpen you, clip some stuff off like that person that is sharing the bed with you, meaning your spouse, because God will use them to show you where you're weak, show you where you're strong, show you where you can grow. And so your spouse may not receive your apology, and it may be heartfelt, and they just like, nah, go back and ask God, well, how can I do it differently? What do you want me to say, God? Not what I wanted to say, but Father, what do I say to them? And then do what he says, and then go back and pray and leave it, because it's between your spouse and God after that.
Yeah, but again, that goes back to the whole thing though. Did you say it in their language so that they could hear you? Because if I speak English and David is sitting over here next to me speaking in Japanese,
and he could say
that I didn't hear anything that he said. He's just talking. I didn't hear any or understand anything that he said. Not to say that whatever he was saying in another language wasn't sincere, but if I didn't understand what he said, that's what I love about the way Dr. Chapman does these as languages. Because if you're speaking one language and she's hearing, only understands another language, then it may not be received as sincere. Not that you didn't do your part, but did you speak her language?
I got something funny to say.
Go on.
It's like the German language. They could be saying "I love you" in German, and it's not like an argument. And I don't want to make light of the situation, but that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's like if you don't, you have to learn to try, and nothing is okay. Press this button and now it's going to be right.
Right.
It takes work. Yeah. It takes time. It takes learning your spouse, asking questions, being vulnerable, being honest. Yeah. Putting down pride and being honest in a conversation. Like, no, you hurt my feelings, and I don't understand why you would do that.
I was going to say, even a step further, go back to your wife and say, baby, I apologize. I really did mean it sincerely. What else can I do? What can I do to make you understand that my apology is sincere?
And don't hit them with the "you should know," because obviously they don't know. And if you, what's the phrase? Something mouth don't get fed.
A closed mouth
don't get
closed
fed.
Mouth.
So if you don't express where you are, what you need, how you feel, how can they fulfill it? No person, whether it's a man or a woman, we're not mind readers.
Right.
So you have to be able to express what you need, and you have to know what you need. Yeah. And it's not fair to your spouse to, "you should know." Well, I don't know.
That's so funny. I remember one time we had a situation where I was wanting something from you, but then when I stopped and asked myself, well, what does that look like? What is it that I want? I couldn't even put it into words. So how can I expect my husband to give me something when I don't even know what it's going to look like when it comes? So, it takes a lot of self-reflection, looking at yourself, looking at what your needs are, so in that situation, as far as you being vulnerable, you apologizing, I go back to that again, go back and have that conversation, baby, what I mean this sincerely, just the fact that you're bringing it back up, will let her know that you're really concerned about it, and then from there taking it, well, what can I do? What is it that you need from me? And then be willing, y'all talk about it,
Yeah. What does sincere look like to you? Yeah. Because we look through jaded glasses.
Yeah.
I just think about, I had a great childhood, but I made a decision when I was young that my feelings were irrelevant. My feelings didn't matter. So when Leslie would do things, or anybody in my life would do things, it was always through that lens of taking care of everyone else and not taking care of me. And I didn't know how to receive sincere apologies because I didn't see it. I didn't know what a sincere apology looked like. I know how I felt and the heaviness that I felt, but I was expecting everyone else's apology. I was expecting her to come at me how I felt. And she would genuinely be like, no, I didn't mean that. And I'm just like, whatever. You know, I couldn't receive it. But then as God dealt with my issues, I was like, oh, no, that's just how that's just her. I see it a little different now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You know, and even to just kind of go through mine, you know, with my childhood, you know, losing my mom, you know, at a young age, and then my dad just didn't communicate a lot with us. He was present. He was present. He provided everything we needed, you know, but he loved by giving. But even, you know, just through all of that, for me, that's what I'm saying. If I saw something wrong, I need to know what is the plan, you know, because if you just come and drop flowers off on the table and that was supposed to be your apology.
And that's something I gotta add this, because, you know, I don't think you realized it, but because your dad was so providing, always giving you guys everything that you needed, but he didn't say I love you until way after we were married. You had never heard those words. I realized that is why gifts mean nothing to you.
Yeah, because he gave us everything.
Because, you know, because you don't connect. You didn't connect it because he never said it, even though that's what he did. And so I would bring flowers, and she'd just be like, whatever. And I would just be like, man. But I understand.
And look, I wouldn't even put them in water.
She sure would. Flowers just be wilted and leaning over.
I would tell you, thank you, but you can put them in some water. Yeah. So he would be the one to have to cut them, put them in the vase, decorate, all of that stuff. Thank you. And I walk by them and look at them. I can make a mean
flower arrangement now, though.
Yeah, now we can both, because we can do it now. But you know, but it was just one of those things. But again, everything is rooted through our childhood. You know, everything is rooted through our experiences in life and what we've been through and what we've done, and all. It's all rooted, you know. So yeah, that's interesting. So just to kind of wrap us up, you know, what? Just want to. Come on, help me out.
No, I think we should just recap the 5 languages of apology. And I think that we just need to understand that everything in the marriage, everything in every relationship is a process. It is literally step 1, step 2, made a mistake, learn from it. Okay, step 1, step 2, learn from it. And we have to have the hard conversations. We have to be vulnerable when we're apologizing. We have to be honest with ourselves and with our spouse. And we have to take the time to learn the person that we're sharing this life with. You got to take the time. Y'all know, I quote this scripture all the time. You know those that labor among you. And that is what God wants people in ministry to know, those that labor together within ministry, your brother and your sister. But this relationship is supposed to be one.
Because I labor.
We're supposed to be one. So we need to take the time to learn each other so we can know how to be one. If you don't take the time to learn your spouse, and you can learn your spouse, every mystery can be revealed by God. He can open up the door. He can open up your eyes to see. So don't say, oh, women are just too confusing, or I just don't understand men. No, you ask the Father how to understand your spouse better and how to grow closer together, and your relationship will be better for it. Absolutely. So what are the 5 apology languages, my love?
So the 5 apology languages are expressing regret, accepting responsibility, make restitution, request forgiveness, and planned change. So we really encourage you all, go and take the test. It's called the apology test. It's by Dr. Gary Chapman, the same one who does the 5 love languages.
And take that test too.
Yeah, please. If you haven't done the love languages, take that. Because again, It's just a matter of learning to speak each other's language, you know,
Mhm.
because if there's a disconnect in what is being said and what's being heard, if there's a disconnect, then you're going to have a disconnect in your relationship. So, and I learned a lot in this, even in us taking this test,
Mhm.
because I think that often I've just wanted David to accept my apology the way I gave it, not even understanding, you know, that there really, really is a difference. And because I love him, then the next time that I have to apologize, he'll know which way it comes. And I will close out on this as well. I always say, anytime that your marriage is disconnected, whether it's because of an argument, a disagreement, whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
whenever you're disconnected, always come back as one. Don't give space to the enemy. Always come back as one.
Absolutely.
I didn't get it. Oh, I gotta do a little plug. Valentine's Day is coming up.
No,
we just passed,
it's
didn't it?
past.
Man,
Don't act like I ain't take you out or nothing.
we celebrate all the time. I mean, okay, I missed it. My bad. Valentine's Day just passed. So happy Valentine's Day to all of our amazing couples and those in love. But want to tell you again that David has written a book. It is absolutely amazing. And it is for men. It's called They Lied to You, Men of God. You are nurturers. So the QR code should be up in the corner so you can get that. You can order a copy, even though you missed it for Valentine's Day. Next year is coming, but you can go on and get it and hold on to it until then. But no, we're celebrating because our anniversary is coming up.
Yes.
So that's where I was thinking we celebrate the whole time. So that's what I was thinking.
You know, I'm a firm believer. We are firm believers that it should be love all year. You know, holidays should not be, you shouldn't put your eggs in one basket kind of vibe. You know, you gotta love each other all year long. You know, because there's a holiday that's Hallmark. Well, I don't think Hallmark in business anymore, but you know, it's just been commercialized. And if you have this big high expectation for this one day and it falls short, you know, and then you lead yourself into more arguments, apologies, etc. But if you love each other all year long and do great, wonderful things for each other just because all year, Valentine's Day is not, I hate to say it's not important. It becomes another day, you know, but your spouse should know that you love them and they should not have to wait for Valentine's Day.
Okay, so I just got one more note saying that the QR code was not working. So with that, you can order the book on Amazon. Again, it is called They Lied to You, Men of God, You Are Nurturers, or you can put in, is it under Pastor David Mackey?
Yeah, you can just put in David. You can put in David Mackey. They Lied to You, David Mackey, and it'll pop up.
Yeah, so you can order that. Yeah, we'll have it right by next time. But yeah, but you can order that on Amazon.
And speaking of next time, we are going to be March 10th. March 10th will be our next episode, and we are going to be talking about taking care of your parents or elderly family member and how that impacts your marriage. And we're actually going to have guests on, and we're going to chit chat. And who are we having on?
We have my cousin Maurice Haywood and his beautiful wife Lisa Haywood. So they're going to be on with us, and we're going to share, we're going to talk, we're going to learn from each other, because we are definitely in that season now where our family parents are aging or passing and things like that. So,
and we want this podcast, you know, to continuously be about things that affect marriage. And we want to motivate you to have a great marriage in spite of, you know, there are all kinds of challenges that you're going to face in your relationship. And this is one that a lot of people deal with. We've already dealt with it with Leslie's father when he passed, you know, and we're dealing with it and eventually going to deal with it, you know, with my parents, you know. So I just think that it's a great topic. So y'all definitely need to tune in. March 10th is the next live episode, but you know, we'll put it out on social media as we always do. So wrapping it on up.
We thank you. We love you. And we can't wait to see you. Next time you see us, we will officially have been married for 28 years. Woo, woo, woo. Anniversary on March 7th. So we'll be out celebrating. Absolutely. But we'll see you on the 10th. We love you. Thank you again for joining.
God bless.